Hello, also back to the mental health consultation site. Few questions, bundle of questions actually about the neuropsychiatric consequences of the COVID-19. We will be answering a few of them. So, as we all know, stroke and any neurological condition that can lead to brain insult will have certain physical and cognitive consequences. But we need also to highlight the importance of the emotional and behavioral ones, as sometimes it's missed. So it actually affects the protocol and it affects the continuum of care of clients with the COVID-19 or the post-COVID-19 period. As we all know, that behavioral emotional change can lead to difficulties in the day-to-day activities of clients, and sometimes it's so devastating actually to the clients and people surrounding them. We now all know, because of the emerging evidences from the new articles actually that are interested in the neuropsychiatric consequences of the COVID-19, we know, for example, that certain brain, let's say, injuries, for example, the ischemic injuries, the stroke, for example, the para-infectious encephalopathy, such as psychosis, such as seizure, such as sometimes the non-convulsive status epilepticus. Sometimes we may have microangiopathic thrombosis at the autopsy. Sometimes we may have a kind of, let's say, autoimmune encephalitis. Sometimes we may have necrotizing encephalopathy. There is a lot of neurological consequences that's direct and indirect, let's say, result of the COVID-19 infection. Now, also we may have a kind of cardiopulmonary, let's say, consequences for the COVID-19. The cardiac arrest and the respiratory failure or respiratory slowness or shutdown will lead to anoxic brain injury. Now, all of that is a kind of neurological consequences for the COVID-19. But we have also a lot of emerging evidences about the behavioral and emotional change that occur during a post-COVID-19 infection. For example, we may have a kind of behavioral excesses. For example, we may have the irritability, we may have the aggression, we may have the let's say, acceptable vocalization, the insults, the outrage. Sometimes we may also have behavioral deficits in the term of, let's say, non-compliance with certain tasks upon the mental health evaluation or the neurological evaluation. Sometimes we may have lack of initiatives. Sometimes we may have reduced or impaired social skills that affect the daily life of clients. So, as I stated previously, it's not only the physical consequences of the COVID-19 that matters. We also need to focus and to put the light on the behavioral as well as the emotional consequences of the COVID-19. And here's the importance. We all know, actually, that sometimes because of the acute brain injury, we may have a kind of behavioral disturbances that can be understood as a natural consequences and as unacceptable consequences of the acute brain injury. For example, the irritability, disorientation, for example, the passivity. It can all happen in the acute recovery or the acute phase after a brain injury. Also, it can occur during the acute recovery stage of the acute brain injury. So that is an important story. But if symptoms usually persist beyond that, we need to have interdisciplinary team approach to the story, because that is very important. Sometimes if we do only stick to the pharmacological and the biological management of that symptoms, we may have a kind of undesirable side effects. For example, we may have a counterproductive issues. For example, because of the sedation, because of the cognitive decline, if we do stick only to the pharmacological management. Sometimes we may have also undesirable side effects, the fatigue, low physical energy. Sometimes we may have acute confusional status, or we may have a kind of toxic brain syndrome. So we need to highlight that, and we need to go actually, as I said previously, to have a full continuum of the care for clients with COVID and the post-COVID period. We need to focus on the behavioral approach. We need also to assess the importance of the psychosocial consequences and the psychosocial management, because it's not only the life of the client. We also have people surrounding that client. We all, in the medical teams, actually, we need to have a kind of comprehensive biological, psychological, as well as social protocol, actually, to tackle all the needs, the psychological and the social needs of clients with COVID-19 at the post-COVID-19 period. So the importance here, actually, because of the behavioral excesses and the behavioral deficits that we may have, we need to take care of that. We need to highlight that facts, and we need to put them under the psychological microscope just to have the perfect care for clients and their families. I hope you all stay safe, and we will be discussing certain facts regarding the neuropsychiatric consequences of COVID-19 in the coming videos, hopefully. Stay safe and wish you nice moments.